Becoming a successful professional speaker is a journey. How do you find that first stage, the next stage, and then the bigger and better stages? I'm Lee Hayes, your host. My co-hosts and I are here to guide you to a more successful speaking career. You're listening to Path to the Main Stage podcast. I have an amazing guest for you who I can tell you right now that even after I give his introduction, if you just go Google his name, you're going to go, like, I want to be him, right? He has done amazing things on so many levels. So let me just give you a taste here. Lamar Tyler is the CEO and founder of Tyler New Media, which has been recognized 4 consecutive years from 21 to 24 as one of the Inc.'s 5,000 list of America's fastest growing companies. He is an author. He is a speaker. He is a consultant. He runs events. He's just an amazing human being who so delightfully agreed today to share some of his knowledge on how to get that kind of success, on how to get to the next level as an emerging speaker. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Lee. Always a pleasure to speak with you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. All right, let's just jump right in here. You talk about passion, purpose, and profit. How does that tie in? I'm going to focus a lot on speaking. How does that tie into your business as a speaker?
You know, a lot of times people come and they say, you know, I have this passion for this thing that I do, or they say I have a purpose, like a greater calling towards what I do. But what I want to encourage them always is when we think about business, and for all of my speakers, I want you to think that you being a speaker is you being in business, right? When we talk about business, I want you to marry passion and purpose, but don't forget the third P, which is profit. Because when we have passion and purpose alone, but without profit, that's when we have to do, 5 or 6 side gigs and side hustles trying to make ends meet. Because no matter what, we have bills to pay, right? We have people to feed, families, children, parents that we're caring for, all these different things in place. So how can we marry the things that we're passionate about and called to do along with being able to make a living and a great living doing it? And as a speaker, you have the opportunity to make a great living. One of the things, Lee, I was telling my team recently is I'm always looking for more speaking engagements because speaking is the easiest work that I do.
And it's not easy, so you do hard things.
It is not, but I run a coaching program, and when I sell someone on coaching program, for the next year, I got me and I got my coaches, and, we got an administrative team to support them, and we got all these things going on. But speaking is the only thing where I get paid to do something I'm extremely passionate about, that I 1 to 10 on a level 10 love doing it. And in a short amount of time, I can come in, greatly impact the people in that room, greatly impact myself because I love to serve them, and then get a hefty paycheck on the way out the door. It gets no better than that.
Enough said. That just drop the mic right there. All right, let me ask you something. You just mentioned, because you are a coach, you offer coaching. Have you, in fact, I know you have, tell me about a coaching experience that you had as an individual that helped you grow. Because I've had some speakers go, I don't need a coach. I don't need help. I just need an agent, someone just to throw me on that stage. How did coaching help you?
Definitely so. So I'm a believer that coaching works, and I'm always in coaching programs myself. So in different types of programs, I've been in marketing programs, right, to help me try to figure out how can I get more leads in, how can I get more sales, what's going on in the marketplace. I've been in leadership programs trying to figure out how can I be a better leader for my team and for my people. I'll probably say one of the earliest coaching experiences that had the greatest impact actually helped me with a form of speaking. And what it was is we spent $14,000, which is, that's crazy money now. This was in 2012. $14,000 for one day. Wow. And we went in and learned, yes, wow. I still say wow now, like, I don't know what we're thinking, but we did it. But one day we learned from a company that went in and told us how to speak online virtually with webinars. And that literally changed the whole trajectory of our business. And they came in and built a webinar out for us. They came through and told us how to speak with the people, how to transform the information that we had. Because at the time we were bloggers. So we were communicating, but communicating in written format. And they talked about how we could take that and then express those same concepts, those same, rules and bylaws and things that we were writing about into a format that we could speak to people, not just speak with them, but engage with people, have them, anticipating and waiting for what came next, what came next, what came next. And then it's eventually even how to sell a product out of it. And that experience totally changed everything. And then on the flip side, I'm always a student. If anybody listening, you should always be a student. And one of the greatest things I've learned to help me with speaking has actually been from one of my clients. I have a client, Andy Henriquez, who's a master storyteller. And we paid Andy to come into a half-day workshop with the rest of our clients, his peers, specifically around storytelling. And what he taught on storytelling greatly allowed me to level up my speaking. Because, it's different like archetypes and different types of speakers. And traditionally, what I do is I love to train. So I'm, traditionally, like at my core, I'm come in, let me show you about sales and marketing. I'm going to make it engaging. I'm going to make it fun. I'm going to crack jokes. But we're going to learn about how to make money, how to sell stuff, how to market stuff. When Andy came in and I learned how to do better at telling the stories that connected everything together, then everything took off. And that's, leveled up not just my speaking, but also the other. This is such a great topic. A lot of time we think about speaking, we think about, speaking from the stage, but I speak virtually all the time. I speak on podcasts. I speak on webinars. I speak, on summits and such. But then also I do online speaking in my social media. So because of being able to tell better stories, I did a podcast interview with a guy, Vusi Timikwayo, huge influence out of South Africa. I told a story that I normally tell from the stage. And, when I saw him a couple months later, he showed me and said, yeah, the back end statistics, that one Instagram reel has over 6 million views.
Wow.
All because, being able to take coaching, to learn about storytellings, and then be able to implement that into what I do day by day.
So it sounds like everything you've invested, you mentioned 14,000, big number, but it sounds like you've gotten that back many times, that everyone every time you've invested in coaching, it's been worth it.
Every time, Lee. What I tell people, because a lot of times people want guarantees. What I tell them is what I'm guaranteed to get is a ROI or ROE. ROI, return on investment, a lot of people are familiar with. Mm-hmm. So I put in 14,000. How can I make, what I'm always thinking is number one, how can I make that money back? I'm not thinking, hey, I put in 14 and I got to make 10 million. Because we didn't have 14 just to be floating out into the atmosphere. So number one, I'm thinking like, how can I just make that money back? Mm-hmm. And what most people don't realize is that when you learn a skill, when you learn a talent, and specifically I learned how to do something that generates me money, I made that 14,000, yes. It was never thinking if I would make it, but how long would it take? Because I was going to use a skill, so would it take, 1 month or me doing something once a month for 1 year? Over 10 years, I make it back. But once you have a skill, you continue to repeat and press that skill over and over again and make it again and again and again. So it definitely has.
So what's the ROE? You mentioned the ROI.
If I'm not getting return on the investment, I want to return on my experience. What am I learning? Mm-hmm. Because there are times we might have paid a consultant, and the first time we did a big launch, that was a big ad spend to us. He had us put, $10,000 in advertising. We were like, woo, that, we never, at the most, we might have spent like 1,000, 1,500, 10,000, but we wanted this big result that required that. And actually, the launch didn't go well. But even though I didn't get return on investment, I got a return on experience. What did that look like? Well, for the first time, instead of having 100 people registered for a webinar, we had over 1,000. Mm. We hit capacity in the first 10 minutes and capped out the room at 1,000. This is in the go-to webinar days before Zoom was out on the scene. So we capped out at capacity of 1,000 people, which we had never done. So even though we didn't make money then, that just opened up my mindset to say, I don't have to have 100 people on. I can get 1,000 people on. And even though this product didn't sell that we created, I have products that have sold in the past. I got other things I'm going to make in the future. So it just expanded my mindset about what was really possible. So you're always going to get either return on investment, return on experience, or both.
So coaching, very worthwhile. What about systems? I know you talk a lot about systems. You show on your website, you have a lot of tools listed, systems listed. How important are systems in general, and what systems or tools, I don't know if there's a differentiation there, but what would you recommend to an emerging speaker? What do they need? What's essential?
Yeah, greatly important, because without tools, you have chaos. Mm. And what that looks like is it may feel like you can handle and juggle all the things when you're first starting out, but as success comes, it will expose you. And especially when we're talking about a skill and a trade, a talent, a business like speaking, because as you grow and as the demand increases and as the checks get bigger, right, and the opportunities get bigger and the stages get bigger, you want to show up more professional, not less. So as we're growing, we need systems even more than we do when we first start out, because when we first start out, we probably have time to get our hands on everything, but as we grow, we don't. So for me, and what I recommend for any speaker is, number one, I'm a huge advocate of having a CRM, a customer relationship management system, right? We use a company called Keep, used to be Infusionsoft back in the day, but all of our customer data is in there. And I tell a lot of people that provide some type of service that are clients that they need a CRM, if nothing else, because when those jobs are coming in and you're getting booked, you should be noting why you're getting booked. If I'm getting booked for the company's leadership development and I get booked, January of this year, then I should have communications going out in the fall of the previous year, the fall of the next year, saying, hey, I know your leadership development is coming up again, and we had a great time last year. I remember this, and this. Here's some, photos, or, here's some of my greatest memories. Looking to know if you've booked anybody yet. I should be doing that to go out and find the work. And again, not waiting passively for all the work to come to me. And the best thing about it with a CRM is I can actually automate every step of that, so that when people come into my system, if I'm just documenting what I did, when I did it, what the occasion was, who I talked to, then we can actually follow up through it. Through my CRM, I can have, I know a lot of speakers get more work by word of mouth. Mm-hmm. So what I always talk about word of mouth and referrals is, even though that's the primary way a lot of people get business, most people don't have an actual system around it. So a system looks like, every time I engage with someone, am I asking every single person for referrals every single time? If possible, am I incentivizing them for referring people to me? If possible, am I incentivizing the person actually coming in? And am I doing this, again, on repeat, automated with systems, every single time for every single person, every single way? And most people are not. So when we're not being as intentional with driving revenue in as we can be, and we're leaving a lot of things to chance.
What about email marketing? Do you have a system for that?
Yeah, definitely, right? And for us, it's the same system, right? So it's the automations, email marketing, is reaching out, which would be email, SMS. In today's times, communication is so splintered. So I'm sure you remember, right? We just be able to send the email, everybody got it, we were fine. Now, in our company, if we just want to reach clients, sometimes it's hard to reach our own clients. If we want to reach clients, I love my wife, who's my business partner, Ronnie, says to our team that one communication is 3 different touch points. They have to call, they have to email, and they have to send a text message. Mm-hmm. Because now we have all 3 of those types of people. If you send me a text message, I will not respond probably until the end of the day, because I've been on, back-to-back calls all day. So when I get off at 5 or 6, if you sent me something at 9 or 10, I'm probably just getting to it. I'm an email guy, right? I know there's a lot of younger people are not email people, right? So it all depends. So yes, we need systems that, again, have all those different touch points, do email marketing, letting people know what's coming, what's going on. You're great at that. We've hired and brought on speakers through you, and I love it, because there are times when I'm thinking, hey, you know what? I want this person, that person. Let me reach out to Lee and see if they're available. But most of the time, before I can even think about it, you're landing in my inbox, letting me know that this person is available, letting me know that, hey, guess what? They have a new book coming out, letting me know that, hey, these are the opportunities that are available. So sometimes I'm intentionally thinking about, hey, I want to bring on one of these people. At other times, I'm thinking in the back of my head, we have a conference coming up and I need to think about who I want to have speak. And you are able to actually insert the seed in my mind before I start hunting and looking for other people. So definitely.
I confess to doing exactly what you're talking about, which is in my CRM, right? I know, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know that in your file, I have a trigger that says Lamar Tyler starts planning his event this month.
See,
because this is when I talked to him last month. So you're talking about, following up on the leadership. And I'm going, yep, that's exactly what I do. So that is so important to know when people start thinking about things and getting in there.
Yeah. And like I said, the point I want to drive again, you can automate all of those pieces so that you don't have to manually be going through a Rolodex and saying, all right, today is, February the 3rd, who do I need to reach out to? And those communications are going. And then when people answer back, you just close the loop on it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And now, how important is it to meet a customer where they are? Like you mentioned, you just mentioned the term Rolodex. I'm right there with you. So I'm an email person,
Yes.
but so here's an experience I've had. I often reach out to speakers because there are instances where, even though I have my stable over my shoulder here, I sometimes have clients reach out and say, yeah, we've had your stable, but we need X. Like they're looking for something specific. And so I will look beyond that, right, to all the speakers that are out there trying to find the right thing for my good client. 50% of speakers don't respond to me at all when I'll send them an email, paid speaking and it's not just me. I've talked to other people who hire speakers. They go, there's about a 50% no response rate. And one person wrote to me and they go, well, Lee, I'm not an email person. If you're not going to write to me on social media, I'm not going to respond. How important is it that you find a method that your client works on versus one that you're comfortable with?
Totally, it's vital. One of my favorite quotes is that money loves speed. So especially when someone is reaching out to you and there's money on the other side, there's opportunity on the other side, right? There's something to get on the other side. You have to respond and be able to respond as fast as possible and be able to respond through whatever channels they come through. So again, right, we get back to systems. What is the system you have set up so that even if you don't answer emails, none of your emails that are important end up in the trash or end up not being responded to after time? And, hey, maybe I don't go onto LinkedIn, or maybe I don't go to Instagram a lot because I'm not a social media person, but does somebody on your team, do you have an assistant or at least a virtual assistant? Or now the beauty of it is, this is probably one of the best times ever to be a speaker. Oh, maybe we need to talk about this. It's one of the best times ever to be a speaker because of AI.
Yeah.
So,
AI can watch it for you.
Exactly. You can have an AI agent set up that actually watches your inbox and sorts on your behalf so that only the most important things get to you. But, there's really no excuse. I tell myself and my team and my clients, if someone wants to pay you money, there's no excuse for you not meeting them wherever they are to do, right? As long as it's something that, is ever you want to do. But you making sure you have those conversations, you can get to the bottom if it's a good opportunity or not.
And never complain, right? If you're a speaker and you're looking for more gigs and you miss things, no excuse, right? You're missing your own work. So, all right, so we need to get that system in place. How important is brand, that you come across in a certain way, and how do you get that brand out there? How do you enforce that?
Branding is vital. And the reason I say this is not just as a speaker, but also as someone that hires speakers. When I'm not going to Lee and begging for the amazing stable that she has, if I'm going outside to look for people, oftentimes the first thing I do is not connect directly to a bureau. I see if I can connect directly to the person. So that means I'm Googling them and I'm landing on their website. So what does their branding on their website? What's the colors? What's the logos? What's the representation? Their images. Are the images high quality or not? Because if the images are low quality images, it makes me think less of the speaker. Do they have great video ads? So much. This is not a conversation I could normally have. So I'm so excited. But I'm looking and saying, hey, are they great video assets? Because again, if they have high quality video, it makes me think that they're a bigger deal. I don't know if they're a big deal or not. I could have just stumbled across and got referred, but it makes me think they're a bigger deal, right? And there are some things that feed in that. If I see large audiences, that's great, but I might not even see the audience. I might just see the person facing, the shot facing towards the stage. But if it comes across, well, all those things go into the brand. When I land on their social media, what do their social media pages look like, right? How do they represent themselves? Is the page, more about 50 other things instead of like the exact topic that I'm interested in? Because the lens I'm looking through most of the time is this person good? Does this person fit with the audience that we are, promoting this event for? And can they come in and give my people transformation? And most times I'm trying to figure that out before I talk directly to anyone.
So brand is their face that's out there before you talk with them. Wonderful. All right. What about
Lee, can I tell you one thing when I'm looking at often is missing?
Sure.
This is the craziest thing for me. But oftentimes when I find somebody, the one thing I can't find is video of them speaking.
Real. You know what? I was gonna be shocked here for a second. No, you're correct. How many websites have I gone to and there's no video? Or I go on social media, I go to YouTube, there's no video. Here's what's interesting, and I want you to comment on this. What I've been told by a handful of people is if I have video out there, they've already seen my stuff and they don't need to hire me, so I want to keep it a secret. Your thoughts?
Not true. Not true at all, right? I'm going to give you a few different scenarios on this. For one, me as the event organizer, I need to know you can speak before I bring you into my audience, definitely before I pay you. Because I don't want to I want to create the best event. And if I don't want any wild cards. So I want to know, what you talk about, how you talk about it. Because I can see you and say, okay, this is the topic. But I want to know, are you funny? Are you boring? We run high energy events. You don't have to be high energy, but if you're not high energy, I need your information to be that much better. And I need to know beforehand so I know how to position you in the actual flow of the run of the show and how the event actually goes. So if it's certain things, it's been speakers I was interested in, but if I couldn't find video and if they couldn't send me anything, I didn't hire them because I wasn't interested. On the other hand of that, there are certain stories I tell when I speak. And now, because of social, there are ones that are out there a lot. I tell a story about $1,000 steak at Poppy Steak down in Miami. I got this Krispy Kreme donut story that I tell about experience. And literally when I go places, if I don't tell that story, people are upset. And when I was talking to my client, Andy, who I was talking about before, and I was saying, man, I tell a story all the time. Like people have heard it. They've seen it online. They've seen it there. And he said, Lamar, what it is, imagine your favorite comedian, right? And your favorite comedian has a great joke that they're known for. When you go to the comedy club, you want to see them tell that joke, right? Your favorite band. One of my favorite bands of all time is Earth, Wind, and Fire, right? There's certain Earth, Wind, and Fire. If they go and they don't perform September, they don't perform, they're certain songs, if they don't perform it, the whole audience is going to storm the stage. So as a speaker, right, your best talk is your best song. And, I have people that show up where they want to hear me tell that story in person. And oftentimes it's not that they get tired of it, it's that we get tired of it, the speakers. We get tired of telling it. We get tired of saying it. We think that everyone's heard it. And guess what? On today's internet, I could go viral 1 million times over with 100 million views, and the majority of people in this world still would never know who I was, what I did, right, or what that story was about. So now that I think you could be repelling as much money as you are trying to, keep and retain into it, but you could be repelling a lot of people the same way that probably would jump all over the gift that you have otherwise.
Yeah, I've never heard it said so well as you just did with music. You're right. If Earth, Wind, and Fire doesn't do September, why am I here, right?
Right.
That's the one we're gonna all. That's it. And I've never heard it said like that. So thank you for that. I'm taking notes. What about hustle? So speakers, they come to me and they say, if I just had an agent, they'll get it done for me. If I just have a nice website, right, my website will get it done for me. I have a CRM. As soon as those leads come in, I'll keep track of them. How important is the outbound day-to-day hustle? And how do you were mentioning, before we get on, you mentioned one idea that I went, oh my gosh, of course. So tell me about the hustle.
Lee, I'm sure if someone is listening and willing to be honest with themselves, they'll tell you they probably in the same position at one point, if not now, that I was in. And years ago, my wife, our first business, we started out as bloggers. So we had a blog around marriage and family. But I was very interested in the blogging business side of it. So we were growing and developing, doing different things. And I would go to conferences and I would be sometimes upset and mad at the people that were speaking. Because I would say, this person doesn't know what they're talking about. Or I would say, this person isn't good, right? I had all these things. And I was like, hey, you know what? I should be speaking. And then I would pitch and submit and I wouldn't get picked. And then I'd be more disappointed. I can't believe they didn't pick me. They picked this person. But I didn't have the things you talked about. I didn't have branding. I didn't have a voice. I didn't have videos out there of me speaking so people knew what I knew. They didn't know how I presented. Didn't know how I would come across. So at a certain point, I realized that they weren't the problem, I was. And then I had a shift in mindset. And this is the mindset shift I want everyone that's watching and listening to think about and hear. I had a shift in mindset. What I told myself, Lee, was this. I said, I'm going to put the information that I have online and put it up front out to people. And I want to create an atmosphere to where if you have an event around blogging, around digital marketing, around anything online in business, and you do not have Lamar on your lineup, I want someone in that audience to say, this was good, but it's weird that they didn't have Lamar Tyler here, right? I wanted somebody in the room when they talk about, hey, this is what we're doing and this is what the plan is, somebody to raise their hand and say, well, this all sounds good, but we got to get that guy Lamar. And I literally had a shift where I have to make people aware of what I know. And if I don't, some way get that information out, they'll never pick me because I'll never be top of mind. And I think so much of speaking is being top of mind. Mm-hmm. So that's what I did. I started out by doing a web series. I did a web series called The Gatekeepers Are Gone. And in that web series, I would talk about different things around social media, around business, around, 50 other things. And I think it was like an 8 to 10 episode season. That was me in my office at home. And this probably was like 2011. It was like me in my office at home, just shooting video, talking, going through stuff. And wouldn't you know it, as I was doing it, we might be getting like 1,000 views. It wasn't like hundreds of thousands of views. We might have like 1,000 views, 500 on this one, 700 on that one. But people started to realize that I knew things about the actual topic. Mm-hmm. And then I started to get access to panels, access to, some of the smaller stages, and things grew. But what I learned from that is that sometimes you can't sit and wait for someone to give you access to their stage. You have to create your own. And in that moment, creating my own stage meant a virtual stage. That's one of the benefits of being in the time that we're in now. Every stage doesn't have to be in an auditorium or in a stadium or arena. I created my own stage on Facebook at the time and on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Then that led to me coming into hotel ballrooms, et cetera, and so much. But so many people are waiting too long for someone else to pick them when they need to pick themselves. And now the most consistent large stage I speak on, the most consistent large stage that I speak on is my own. We average about 1,000 people per event at our 2 conferences. And guess what? I speak several times at my own conference. Mm-hmm. But then I use the video, the images, everything I talked about, the pictures, the graphics, the testimonials from that. And that actually leverages out to get me other opportunities to come out and speak for other people.
How did you get started with your first event? Because I know you said the online, which I think is brilliant because there's definitely less investment except for your time, right? Your time is always
Correct.
Worth something. But how did you start that first staged event, live in-person event?
Sure. First event, we made a transition from our blog to saying, so many people come and say, hey, can you teach us what you know? You know a lot around sales and marketing, especially online. Can you teach us what you know? So we said, all right, we'll create this new brand. In 2015, we created Traffic, Sales, and Profit, which is the primary thing we've been doing for the last 10 years. We did Traffic, Sales, and Profit. We started with an online course. And I want everybody to listen. One of the key things I did is that when anyone bought anyone bought the course, I gave them a ticket to the actual upcoming event the next year, which is, it's a conference. It was a paid event, but if you bought the course, we sold the course for anywhere between $1,200 to $1,500. Mm-hmm. You would get a ticket to attend. So we got there next year. In our blog, we had been doing marriage conferences, retreats, stuff like that. That were like large, because what I didn't realize at the time until later on is that it was a lot easier to sell to couples because every one ticket is 2 people. Mm-hmm. So, you fill up a venue at twice the pace. But when I went to Traffic, Sales, and Profit, which is brand new, and we didn't really have audience around it, I said, okay, my goal is 200 people. Then we got closer. I said, don't look like 200. Let's go for 100. And then we got close. I said, this is not going to be 100 people in the room. And we ended up with 47 people. Mm-hmm. And out of the 47, right, only 21, 22 of those people had even paid because most of them got free tickets. Right. So people say, Lamar, how did you go from there to our largest event now has been close to 1,300 people? Wow. How did you go from like 47 to 1,300? What I tell them is that we didn't quit when we only had 47. And most people cannot build a sustainable, sizable event for a few reasons. Number one, because when they go in, they say, my first event, I'm going to have 300, 400, 500. It is much harder to sell tickets to events than people ever could imagine that it actually is. Even if you already have community, you have people, it's a lot, taller task than a lot of people think. Number two, most people lose at events, not at the event itself, but when they create the budget for the event, right? I had a friend that always talk about a lot of people treat their conferences like they're their weddings. And they're, spending so extravagant. You only get married once, and you buying the best steak and the best shrimp and, the best DJ and the best venue. But we were very budget conscious with that first event. So even though we had hoped to get 200, when we got 47, it didn't sink the ship. So we could live to see another day. We didn't get rich, but we could just live to see another day. And then we applied all the lessons we learned about selling tickets, all the lessons we learned about content, all the lessons we learned about, being able to market and engaging with the people and what made our event special into event number 2. So we went from about 47 people, with two interesting things. How this helped us grow it faster too. The first event we had in June of 2016. In that event, it was only 47 people, but it was good. Like the amount of people, everyone listen to this, the amount of people you have does not dictate how great the content is. So we said we're going to blow these 47 people away and give them the best event they ever been to. So 47 people, the event was amazing. The very last day before I go out and do my very last talk to wrap, I'm telling my wife, Ronnie, like I really want to do another event because I feel like if I wait until next year, 12 months from now, these people, well, some of them won't even be in business anymore. Some of them, like this energy that we have, no matter what, would have died all the way back down. So I said, I've seen a lot of people do it, but I'm thinking about maybe doing an event sooner than a year. And would you know, when I went out and did the last session, the very last question was a woman named Ginger that raised her hand and said, Lamar, my question is, do we have to wait another year? Because this is so good that we don't want to wait. So we ended up doing another event in January. And then that's how we got to every January and June. We did another event in January. That event, we said, we're not going to expect 200, we're only going to expect 50. And wouldn't you know, because those 47 had such a great time, and it wasn't like real far away, they bought a lot of tickets to come back. They told other people, so we sold out of the 50 in no time. This is all paid, no free people this time. We sold out of the 50, and then the next time we got back to June, a year from our first event, that next event we had 172 people, and our keynote speaker was Mike McAllowitz, and that is when I met Lee Hayes.
I love the plug. Thank you. Yes, and Mike is going to be back at your event.
Yes.
In January. A few months.
Yes. For the fourth. Is that the third? I think it's the fourth time. We had them three. This will be his third time in person. We did once. We had them in during COVID.
Yeah, we had the COVID thing. But so interesting what you said about increasing the frequency of events. I have talked to people who run events who said that they backed off on the event. They're like, well, we don't think we can sell, so we're going to do every other year. But it sounds like your momentum came from twice a year.
Just the opposite. Yeah, just the opposite. What it did, and this is what I learned kind of by chance. I was like, hey, I told you why I wanted to do it. But once we got into it, what I learned is that we were growing probably twice as fast as most of my peers that I saw doing events. And the difference was, again, the audience didn't have a chance to die down. Where 12 months later, a lot can happen in 12 months. And even the people that were most excited, by the time, if it's 12 months away, you probably don't start selling tickets till about 6 months before the event a lot of times. And then even in that 6 month span, people just aren't interested. So what we learned is if we have an event, the next one is, within like a 5 to 6 month span. So it's close enough for people to get excited. What would happen is on the very last day of that event, we go into pre-sale for the next event. So when we go into pre-sale, the people that are most likely to buy from you are people that have already bought from you. So the people that are at the event, and as you know, events are emotional, right? Because you're in the moment. So you say, I learned so much. I met these great people in the hallway. I connect with somebody at lunch. You're going to do business together. There's no better time for you to get people in an event than at the previous event because they're on a conference high. That conference high will die down when they get back home and, kids, family, spouse, job, everything else, smacks them in the face. But at that moment, we open up pre-sale and we'll pre-sale tickets to the next event. To do it, Lee, we don't have to have the next event fully fleshed out. All we need is a venue location. I want a contract for the venue so that way I can make sure the data's locked in. And if I'm bringing in, which we haven't always brought in keynotes, but as we grew bigger and we started bringing in big outside keynote speakers, I just need at least one name I can build the event around. So I don't need to have like my whole roster, 10, 15 speakers. I need, if it's going to be a big name speaker, I want my big name speaker. I want the venue and the ability to pre-sale. We'll pre-sale tickets for about a week or less. So it's very like short time frame to make them buy then. Then we'll go dark for about 2 weeks. And then we'll open up with early bird. And then, price increases, et cetera, leading up to the next event. So for us, it's probably on the inside harder because we're always in event mode. There's always a conference coming within the next 6 months. But for our audience, we're also always keeping them close to us. And then when they also are at an event and they're telling a friend, how was the thing you went to in Atlanta last week? It was so good. When's the next one? Next year? They say no. It's just a few months away, right? They got early bird. Early bird is launching now. I can get you, one of my pre-sale tickets, and I can get you access now. So it's never even that gap of when you tell somebody excited, but they don't have access to actually participate. Then by the time they do, they don't care anymore.
Mm-hmm. I love the cadence. I never thought of that. I think it's brilliant. What a way to build an event. So now tell me, you speak at your own events because these are huge events.
Correct.
How has that impacted your speaking at other events? Do you ever have people who come to your event who go, oh my gosh, like I need to have you come to my event?
Definitely so. A lot of the speaking we do is from people that come to our events, people that have conferences and events, and they see me on the stage and say, hey, you know what? I want you, like I said, I want you to come speak at my event about, this, or this, right? And kind of go through it. Or they are people that came to our events, talking about the power of the stage, people that come to our events, but even though they may be coming to ours to learn about a business they want to build or something they want to do, they still have, jobs. They work a 9 to 5. They're doing something else. So they might say, I had a woman that saw me speak recently. They said, hey, I'm, in the Department of Education at my college. Do you speak at colleges? I said, yes, I can. Mm-hmm. So you say, hey, I want to set you up to come speak at my college, and we're talking about that. So yes, definitely from people being in the room and seeing, and that exposure in the, the performance you do on that stage, definitely leading to others from the people that are in the seats.
Plus, I imagine you're getting great video, great audio, great pictures, right? All from your event.
Definitely. And that's one of our main key things is that media, right? Like I said, the video, the images. One of the things I love to do for my speakers, so anybody listen, they could actually, ask people for this. Because as you do it, more and more events are doing video and images and everything else. But one of the things I love to do for my speakers, we started a couple years ago, because I know how important it is to me, is that when somebody speaks for us, we'll actually give them a package. And most of them don't actually ask for it, but we'll give them a package when they're done and say, hey, here are your images. Here's the actual full video from your talk. Enjoy. Because we know now that stuff is more important than ever before. Not just for you speaking, but for social media, for your Instagram, your TikTok, all of the assets you have to put out. So we just want to help you out, by giving you access to that. And the more they share, it actually is good for us too, because whenever you see somebody sharing real good content, you see multiple people, you always try to look in the background and say, what event was that they were at? So, we kind of tie that in as well. And then whenever I'm speaking other places, it's the same thing. I just have it written in my contract. Hey, can I get all of the images? Can I get a video of just my performance so then I can use it other places as we go? And then something, Lee, I don't know, and this may be commonplace, you would know more than me, but one of the things that we now ask for all of our speakers, which is, since I ask people, I just do it for other people as well. A couple years back, we had Magic Johnson. And he was expensive for us, right? Great, amazing speaker, very expensive. So I was thinking like, hey, how can we get the most out of this? Because we need to advertise them. And what I did is I said, hey, can you just shoot a quick cell phone video for me? And that's how we started kind of asking everybody for cell phone videos. And he did a cell phone video for us. And what we'll do, and let me go back a step. The reason for everybody listening, we asked for a cell phone video because when you have somebody that's extremely busy, the harder it is for them to do whatever you need them to do, it's not going to get done. So, right, the bigger the speaker is, even asking for a cell phone video is tough, but we're like, hey, you don't have to be dressed up a certain way. You don't have, just shoot the video, and then they'll get us a video. We take the video, and then our video team actually builds around it. So for Magic Johnson, for example, we took his cell phone video, which was him in like a tracksuit saying, hey, doing the magic thing. Hey, I'm coming. It's going to be great. I'm going to teach you this. I'll be on this day. But then we cut in some different clips of him from the past, some business stuff, some sports stuff, put music behind it. And we were able to wrap a whole video around it, where if we would have asked them to do something for us, they would have projected it months out. Most likely the chance of us not getting it would have been very high. So since when I speak, I just always do that for people too, and say, hey, let me get this video as a way that you can use another resource and have another asset to promote your conference, your event, to sell more tickets.
Fantastic. Great tip. And for anyone out there who's not asked for your stuff, like when you speak, who's not asked for your video and photos, oh my goodness, ask for it. It rarely ever gets turned down. I didn't think about that. I always ask for that from my speakers. So my goodness, take the value.
And Lee, for the people that don't, if they're not aware, If you don't ask, you will not get it.
Yeah, no,
You will
goodness, no.
see, you will see 20 cameras there. You will see a ton of photographers. You will never see that footage won't see the light of day.
Nope.
So a lot of times I think people make the assumption, oh, they got footage, they're gonna send it.
Nope.
The norm is that they don't. So whenever I ask for it, most of the time people are like, oh, no problem. But the norm is literally that they don't. And Lee, what's funny is I even start telling, once I come off the stage, always people want to take pictures with me. And I started, I joke a lot and I play a lot when I'm on stage. So I tell the people, what's going to happen with this picture? Because I say, like, over the last year, I've taken hundreds of pictures and only 3 or 4 have shown up online. So where are these pictures going to? So I even play around the playful way, but I encourage the people that come up and take pictures with me to make sure they share them online,
Yeah,
right? Share them
put it out
online
there.
so I can share them. I can toast. And again, that's just more social proof for me where their network sees me. Their network probably doesn't know me, but they say, hey, who's this guy you're with? And then they're, putting some captions that I was so good. I spoke at this event and that could land me another speaking gig too.
Absolutely. Okay, here's my wrap question for you. I always ask every one of my co-hosts, if you could speak to you when you first started getting on stage, if you had one piece of advice you'd give yourself that you've learned since then, what piece of advice would you give yourself starting out?
Great question. If I was talking to myself starting out, what I would say is move faster. Remove self-doubt. I think a lot of times we have self-doubt about not knowing enough, not being good enough, not being, the greatest of speakers. And a lot of times we're comparing ourselves to the greatest speakers in history. When we make those comparisons, it's not even the guy next to us. You're like, I don't present like Jim Rohn presented, or right, and you won't, most likely. But just moving faster towards the goal. And I probably say move faster towards the goal, right? Like I said, like move a lot of self-doubt and such. Reach out to more people. Be more proactive. Like I said, instead of waiting for people to come to you, reach out and ask for opportunities. Reach out and make it known what you do. Just be more visible. Like I said, it's probably the greatest time ever for speakers to speak because you have a platform like social media where you can get on and you can speak and you can host other people and you can talk to other people. You can share your thoughts. You want to be a thought leader. We need to know what your thoughts are. So you can share those thoughts online and how you communicate, how you come across, and always say that there's nothing better or there's no greater point of connection than people being in a room with me. And them, hearing my voice, hearing my DC area vernacular and my accent, connecting with me, seeing how playful I am on stage. But the next best thing is video. And the video gives them the next best step in reflection to what it would be like to be in an event. So if I can impress them and I can connect with them on video, that makes it more likely that they'll come to an event to see me. And when you can get people to come to an event to see you, that is when people want to book you to speak. I tell my people all the time, there's 2 types of speakers. There's only 2 types in this world for events like mine, right? Where people are coming, we have to sell tickets to them. It's not covered by a corporation or something like that. And in my world, there's only 2 types of speakers. It's speakers that sell tickets and the speakers that don't. And the speakers that don't does not necessarily mean that they're bad speakers. They are phenomenal people and great speakers. But that just means I have to slot them into the event a different way. That just have to means that, hey, when I get them, I'm not expecting that when I pay for that name, X amount of tickets are going to be sold to go along with that name. I'm just bringing them on because they're going to make and deliver an amazing event for the people that come. And when the people leave, they're going to say that the event was so great and he or she was one of the main reasons why, but that's not the reason they actually came to the event. The people that actually do sell tickets, right, I have to be aware of. And then I got to make sure that I leverage and I market them properly to bring them in. And then I also know that those people going to have a higher fee because they are the people that sell tickets, right?
Right.
So being able to move through that. But the most important thing, like I said, is just to get moving. And if I could just wrap with this one thing.
Yeah.
If anybody listening, remove your perfectionism. Too many people get stuck trying to be perfect. And what I will say is that the greatest speakers I've hired have not been the ones with the, greatest tones of voice. They have not been the ones with the greatest, grammar. They have not been the ones that didn't have any filler words. The greatest speakers that I've hired have been the ones that connected the most with the audience. And they've come in different, shape, forms, formats. And I had a speaker a few years back, I'll never forget. And I had, in my audience, I always have other people that speak, of course, because speakers are always everywhere. And I had, a woman come up to me and say, I just, I couldn't stand him because of the way, it was like something about the technical aspect of how he spoke. And I listened to her, and we talked. What I told her is that there's 300 more people in that room, and they love him to death. And I know they love him because all of them came up to me after and told how impactful he was and how great the talk was and how they remembered every quote that he said. And they just kept repeating the quotes. They were sharing the quotes on social media. I said, to me, that's impact. To me, that's a person I would bring in time and time again when a month later, the people that were in the audience are actually quoting you and parts of what you say now become the vernacular in the speech, in the language of our actual community. That's what I want back. I wouldn't care how many times he said, and or whatever.
Because he impacted your life. So
impact the audience, and that's the most important thing.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me today. I feel like this is one of the most impactful podcasts I've done to date. I hope everyone agrees. Please let me know in the comments if you do, or follow and give a rating. I would really appreciate it. And thanks so much. See you next time on the next podcast.
Thanks for listening to Path to the Main Stage. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And for full video episodes, check out YouTube. If you want to be a successful speaker, you need to make it happen. My co-hosts and I are here to help guide you. But if you need more help, please check out pathtothemainstage.com where we can connect. And until next time, keep sharing your voice, keep showing up, and keep taking your path to the main stage.